everybody, Cori here. So I am here today to film a book recommendation video for you. So our January theme for our box is From Olympus with Love. So I decided to pick some books from my collection that will fit this theme. I have 5 or 6 books here that are all inspired by Greek mythology, and a lot of them are pretty different, so I'm excited to show them to you. I say this on this channel a lot, but if you can hear children running or talking or screaming, that's just the way we live in this household. It's a nice day outside, so the kids are soaking up the much deserved sunshine. But without further ado, let's get into the books. So the first book I would love to talk about today is 15 Dogs by Alexis. I read this book a few years ago and it's just really stuck with me. At the beginning of this book, Apollo and Hermes are sitting at a bar in Toronto, having some drinks, having a good time, and they decide to make a wager with each other, and that they're arguing over whether animals would be better off with human intelligence and human speech. Apollo wagers a year of servitude that once given human thought and speak, a group of 15 dogs will be much less happy than they were when they were just dogs. It's a fantastic story. It's called an apologue, which is actually a term that I had never heard before, but it's basically a traditional tale featuring a fable featuring animals for the most part. And it's this story of these 15 dogs who one night are bestowed human intelligence, and what happens from there. Some of the dogs want to embrace this newfound intelligence, some of the dogs want to keep the old ways. All the dogs have such distinct personalities. It's a fantastic story. Obviously there is some heartbreak involved as well. It's a very quick read, but it's fantastically written and then just clever in so many ways, and I highly recommend it. Next up is a book that I read several years ago now, I believe at least 6 years ago, and that is Love in the Time of Global Warming by Francesca Bloch. I didn't love this book when I read it, but I really felt like I should talk about it with this recommendations video, because it is a take on the Odyssey. It's set in LA after a major earthquake has happened, and it follows our main character Pen as she kind of takes off in search of her family. And again, she has this old battered copy of the Odyssey with her, and it kind of dictates her adventure. I believe it reads a little bit on the younger side of YA, I think, if I can recall. And it really references the Odyssey in a very obvious ways, which I think is good for this audience. But on this journey, she runs into all of these other kind of kids who feel like they're outsiders. There's a lot of LGBTQIA+ rep. It's an interesting story, and again, when I read it several years ago, I didn't rate it super high, but I do think it is one to check out if you are interested in these kinds of Greek retellings. Next up is a book that I'm currently a little over halfway done with, but that is An Orchestra of Minorities by Chigozie Obioma. This is another Odyssey retelling, but much more loose, shall we say. This is an adult novel set in Nigeria, or partially set in Nigeria. And at the beginning of the book, we meet our character Chinonso, who is a chicken farmer, and he runs into this young woman who appears to be wanting to jump off a bridge, and he prevents this from happening. And then through the course of the story, Chinonso and this woman end up falling in love, but she is from this wealthy, educated family, and they deem him not worthy enough, not educated enough. And so he makes a deal with somebody to go off to Cyprus to go to school, but it turns out he was duped, and now he's kind of all on his own and needs to make his way. It's narrated by his chi, which is like kind of his guardian spirit, and I love that part of the writing. I think it makes it super interesting and has so much depth. Again, I'm only just over halfway through, so I don't know how it ends, but I'm really enjoying the experience so far. It's very literary, and heartbreaking, and the writing is so interesting. There's a lot of Nigerian terminology, Igbo terminology, but it's not jarring. It's very readable. Highly recommend. I'm glad I'm finally reading this one. It's been on some lists of mine for a couple of years now, but I finally got it from the library and thoroughly enjoying the experience, and had to put it on the list because it is inspired by the Odyssey. Next up, I have two books that, I mean, I couldn't really make this video without talking about. BookTube loves these books. And that is Circe and the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I liked both of these books. I will say I have a softer spot for Song of Achilles. If you didn't know, Song of Achilles is the story of Patroclus and Achilles, and it just follows their life from small boys, forming this bond, and then turning into something more. And then the siege of Troy begins, and Achilles feels the obligation to go to war, and Patroclus follows him there, and it's just their story being intertwined. It's lovely, it's heartbreaking, bring the tissues. Adored it, absolutely adored it. It's definitely one I would love to reread. And then we have Circe. I think this one's probably a little bit more beloved than the Song of Achilles, but I preferred Song of Achilles, but this is still a fantastic book. This follows a young girl named Circe who has grown up with titans, but isn't as powerful and is different, and has discovered a way to make herself more powerful through witchcraft. And feeling threatened, Zeus banishes Circe to an island to live all on her own. And through this island, and through living on this island, she runs into so many characters from Greek mythology. Daedalus, Icarus, the Minotaur, Medea, and Odysseus, and how all of these characters influence her life on this island. It's such an ode to female power. It's such a great story. Again, highly recommend. Madeline Miller's writing is she's such a fantastic storyteller. I can't wait to read more from her in the future. So those were the main books I wanted to talk about, but I feel like I can't make this video and not mention Percy Jackson, because how could I? Have to. Percy Jackson, of course, you know, I don't need to explain. Demigods, Camp Half-Blood, you know. Sally talked about it in our last video, so if you want a little bit more, you can go back to the last video with the middle grade recommendations. But had to hold up Percy Jackson book because it's so ingrained in BookTube that, you know, if I didn't mention it, people would be like, where's Percy Jackson? So mentioning it, love it, love it. Alright, so those are my From Olympus with Love book recommendations for you. If you have any other book recommendations that are based kind of on Greek mythology, let me know, because I'm always down to read more. Right now, our January box is sold out. We are currently shipping. Very exciting. I hope everybody loves their box when you get them, but we have a waitlist going for February. So if you want to join that, I will link it down below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome. Goodbye!